It's the Morning Cruise, Dave, Bill, and Carmen here at the Joy FM. We've got Zach Williams in the studio today. It's taken us about 2 years to get to this point. Not that we're going to continue to drive home that point. And we're not bitter at all.
So sorry,
redeemed.
That's right. Oh, nice callback.
By the way, if I can interject this, I got to say this because when Mike Weaver was sitting in our studio and we had you call in to tell Mike the story of how that song reached you in Europe and it was a God moment. Mike heard your song Chainbreaker, I think for the first time at that moment. And this is what he said off the air. His eyes got wide as saucers and he goes, that voice.
Yeah, he did. And that's before he knew anything.
Right.
But we were totally setting him up too, which was fun.
Really cool thing how God works. So those guys took me out. I was on the bus with them for 30, 40 days, telling that story every night. And then Chris Tomlin's Worship Night in America, they go out on that as well. And they're like, hey, why don't you just ride on our bus because you've already got a bunk. You've been on the bus already. So another 30 days with them. And while we're on that tour, Mike is like, hey, man, we're going to be starting work on another record soon. You don't have any songs that, maybe we'd be interested in? I'm like, matter of fact, I have a song that the day I wrote it, I was like, this would be perfect for Mike Weaver.
Oh.
Wow.
And so that is going to be their next
Get
single.
out.
Hey, there's the scoop
Coming
for you.
out
That's
first
awesome.
of the year.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
great.
It's
Crazy.
just a really cool God
And see, that is
thing,
just God. Like
Yeah.
you
don't
cannot
write that
orchestrate.
story.
No.
No.
That is so.
It's good.
We've known Mike and the guys really since they started.
Yeah.
And they are some of the most genuine people, nicest people that you will ever meet. Speaking of genuine people and nice people, I want to ask you if this guy is. I've seen him. I've enjoyed his work since the days of Parks and Rec and Passengers and Guardians of the Galaxy. And I understand that you have met Chris Pratt.
I have, yeah. He's a cool guy.
Yeah?
And he's very, very much what you would hope that he is.
Oh, that's good to hear.
How did you meet
he's
Chris
very
Pratt?
down to
How
earth.
did this happen?
So
We want the real.
I will give you the real.
Okay.
Jeff just heard the real this morning. And, I'm going to tell him myself a little bit. So I was jumping on a plane in Atlanta, and Bart Millard texted me a picture of Chris Pratt's Insta story or a post that he made. Mm-hmm. And it was like, what the heck's going on? And I'm like, I didn't follow him. Sorry, Chris. Mm-hmm. I didn't follow him at the time. And I get on his thing real quick, and he had tagged me in this post that he had used Chainbreaker in a song. He used the song behind a video that he made. And then at the end of the post, it said, P.S., please don't sue me, Zach. I didn't get your permission to use your song. And my manager's like, you should DM, see if he responds. And I'm like, Chris Pratt doesn't run his Facebook or Instagram.
Right.
And I was like, whatever. So I did. And within 20 seconds, 30 seconds, he responds right back. And it's like, oh, man, I'm such a big fan. Love your music. And I'm thinking, play it cool,
right.
fanboy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm like trying to wait. And before I can respond, he responds again. And I'm like, okay. So I respond. And then it just gets back and forth. And he tells me, he loves my music. He's a huge fan. And I'm the same. And I'm like, man, I'm a big fan of your movies. And I said, well, I'm going to be, just so happens I'm on a tour. And I'm going to be just outside of Los Angeles in like a month and a half. If you want to come, I'll leave you tickets. You can be my guest, whatever you want to do. And he says, if I'm not busy, I would love to. And I'm thinking that was his way out. Like if he didn't want to come, that was
Kind
just
response.
a nice guy
Uh-huh.
response. Mm-hmm. So about 2 weeks before that date, I get a message from him on Instagram, and he says, hey, I'm open. Like, I'm going to be in town. I'm going to be done doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
Here's my manager's contact. I said, I'll get my manager to contact, and they'll set it all up. And so that whole day, like, building up to it, I'm just a nervous wreck. And, my nerves, my stomach, everything was bugging me. And my manager goes, hey, Chris is here. I'm going to go. He said, I'm going to go meet him out back. And just, this is a side note. If you guys had to guess what Chris Pratt drove, what would you think it was?
I've seen a couple of his
a Range
cars
Rover
in
or
Insta stories.
I was like, did Jurassic Park give you that? It was a Ford Raptor.
Oh.
I was like, come on,
Okay.
dude.
Okay.
So anyway, back to the story.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. But he drove his own truck. He drove with a buddy, parked by the buses, came in. And I'll tell my manager, I'm like, man, I'm going to hit the restroom one more time. My stomach bothering me. He said, okay, I'll stall him in the hall, and we won't come in until you're ready. And I wasn't in the bathroom 2 minutes, and I hear, hey, Zach. Hey, man, this is Chris. He goes,
No.
Dude, he goes, I really need to use the bathroom, too. Is that cool if I come in? And I was like, come on, man. And so I hear the door beside me shut.
Oh, so is it like a stall?
Yes, it was like 2 stalls.
So
there's a wall between us. The door shuts. I hear him humming one of my songs under his breath, which didn't make it any more awkward. And about that time, both toilets flush, and the door's open, and we look at each other. We start to shake hands, and then we kind of both went, no, hang on a second. We washed our hands and then turned and shook hands while they were still wet, and just kind of was like, hey. He's like, man, big fan. I'm like, me too. He's like, well, this isn't awkward, is it? And I was like, and so he went to the show, though, and it was amazing because I didn't know,
Yeah.
And he walked out to front of house. You can't not be noticed if you're Chris Pratt at a show, and this was one of the shows on Road Show, so there were like 8,000 or 9,000 people there. It was a big night. And during my set, I literally watch him front of house, and he's with his arms up, praising the Lord.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, so cool. So he comes back, hangs out for like a good hour and a half backstage and just talks, and we're, shooting the breeze and everything. Mm-hmm. And his buddy tells my manager, he's like, just to let you know, like, Chris skipped the Oscars tonight to come to this.
No
and so
way.
he didn't go to the Oscars to come to that show. And the next day it was like all over the news, like Chris Pratt goes to a Christian music concert, skips the Oscars. And I was like,
love
wow.
him even
so that
more.
said so much to me.
I love him even more.
Wow.
So we've kind of kept in touch.
Yeah.
Over the last.
Well, friends who
it's
tinkle
funny.
together
I was
stay
like, hey, man,
together.
he's actually sent me like a song title. And,
Yeah.
But we've talked, and I think he's working on a movie right now somewhere. But I was trying to get him to come out to one of the shows this year, but he's super busy. But
Yeah.
I mean, just a genuine dude, like I said, what you would hope somebody like that would be like.
That's so
That
great.
Really
is
good guy.
amazing.
Love it. Friends who tinkle together stay together.
Sprinkle together.
Sprinkle together, yes.